Hey everyone, my name is Haley Bell, and today's point of discussion is going to be on the voir dire process. I do want to give a quick little disclaimer before we jump in. I have no idea how to edit this, so I'm probably going to stumble on my words or mispronounce something, and I'm so sorry. I have no idea how to edit it out. So if you guys will just follow along with me, we can go ahead and hop into it. So the first question asks to explain the legal term voir dire, its origins, and its purposes. So voir dire is essentially just a process for selecting jurors. This term originated in France. It means to speak the truth. The purpose of the voir dire process is to find fair and impartial jurors and to get rid of jurors who may be predisposed against you, and this can be done by having conversations with them to figure out their life experiences, opinions, and values. Lawyers and judges must then use educated judgments to exercise peremptory challenges and to get the other party to exercise their peremptory challenges in order to come out with a balanced jury selection. The next prompt is to detail the process of voir dire and distinguish between peremptory and discretionary strikes of potential jury members. So the court will often begin this process by asking if the jurors know anyone involved in the case, whether that's the lawyers or the witnesses, just to limit the questioning needed by each party. When the voir dire process begins, it will usually start with 40 available jurors. Most processes start with 12 at a time, and as jurors become excluded, more jurors will fill the spaces until both parties have exhausted their peremptories and are satisfied. Though this isn't the only way that this process can take place, as some process may just have all of the jurors sitting around together and will require the lawyers to speak and excuse jurors as they go through their questions. Additionally, another way to go through this process could be to go person to person, but this is a long process that the courts most likely won't have time for, so it's not often suggested. If there was not enough time for a court to go over life experiences in this kind of detail, the court will take over the purpose of the voir dire process and will ask the jury to be fair and whether or not the jurors think they will be able to. This is, of course, unless some pretrial work has been done to prove that certain life experiences may need to be specifically addressed and excluded. Whew, I'm getting out of breath. During the questioning, both lawyers or the judges should be having group conversations, asking open-ended questions, following up to gain the most in-depth information, and making their decisions towards peremptory challenges, while also providing examples and reasons as to why jurors' life experiences may prove to be an issue within being a selected juror for that specific trial. Each party should be taking notes, to keep track of all of the information learned about each juror. They could also have a colleague help to take notes for them or a psychologist to help them out. Discretionary strikes are used by judges and courts to remove jurors with clear biases, obvious prejudice, and acquaintances with any of the parties involved, or any other juror with an inability to serve. Preemptory strikes are essentially just discretionary strikes for both party counsels, so like the lawyer side. Each party will get 2 to 10 preemptory strikes depending on the case and can be used to remove jurors who give the counsels a gut feeling that the juror would not be a good fit for the case. It is not necessary for counsels to prove that the juror would be prejudiced or biased against the case. I'm going to take a second. Okay, so jumping into the next prompt, it says to provide an opinion of whether or not the process of voir dire serves its stated ends. I do think that the voir dire process more often than not does serve its stated end, but one thing that was mentioned in the Art of Voir Dire YouTube video was that you could attempt to get the other party to dispose of their peremptory challenges by insisting that despite a juror's life experiences, they should still be able to put those experiences behind them and remain impartial throughout the trial. This is often done by using leading questions to point out these biases to the other party so that they will exhaust their preemptories. But this just doesn't seem like the fairest process to go about removing jurors, and it almost feels as though each party could potentially sabotage the jury selection, especially if this juror is clearly biased and is not removed by either parties. Again, I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm doing my best. So the next prompt states to create improvements in the current system of voir dire to ensure fair and impartial jurors for criminal trials. So an improvement that I think the current system of voir dire could benefit from is giving more time to the lawyers or counsels to identify the experiences of the jurors, which would help to ensure a fair jury pool. As the Art of Voir Dire video mentioned, not enough time can be granted to often identify these experiences, and this can lead to unfair, biased, and prejudiced experiences being represented. This issue could also lead to a predisposed jury against the case without proper time being issued on this process. Okay, so the last one, I promise I'm almost done, is to explain whether or not the defendant is entitled to a fair or perfect jury. Absolutely, obviously. Every defendant is entitled to a fair jury thanks to the Sixth Amendment. The Sixth Amendment basically guarantees the rights of criminal defendants to have the right to a public trial without unnecessary delays, the right to have a lawyer, and the right to an impartial jury. And then obviously there's much more to that amendment. But this amendment is expected to be upheld for anyone who becomes a criminal defendant within the United States, whether they are an American or not. If they are facing trial in America, they will have all the amendment rights granted to them. But it's definitely not possible for the defendant to expect a perfect jury. It just isn't possible to receive that or to be granted that. So anyways, I think that is it. I'm finally wrapped up. I'll have this entire script listed below in case I did stumble or just like mess this up completely. But thank you.